Are you ready to uncover your retirement solution? Learn more as Jeremy Keil and his guests guide you along the path of retirement and reveal the 5 steps you need to take to solve your retirement puzzle. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Retirement Revealed. I'm your host, Jeremy Keil, and I'm joined by my producer, Eric Johnson. Eric, how are you doing today?
Jeremy, I am doing fantastic. I am excited. This is the first time you've introed the show. You took it away from me, and I love it.
I know.
You did fantastic.
Yep, you're a nice enough guy to let us do that.
Hey, man, it's your podcast. It's not my podcast.
Well, we still have all the sound effects over on your side, though.
Oh,
and
that's
so
true.
I'm going to let you talk about what we're going to be talking about, because you got the nice sound effects.
Yeah, well, audience, prepare yourself. We are going to be talking about Tales from the Dark Side. Oh, that was fun.
You got it.
I like that.
Part
Yeah.
2. We've done this before.
Exactly. This is another installment. This is going to be kind of a series, I think.
Yeah, we figured we'll just sprinkle in every time we kind of collect some bad stories in a way, examples of things that went wrong. And once we get enough of them, we just need to sprinkle in and help people avoid different things that are out there with the retirement planning, investments, tax planning, all that kind of stuff. Today, we're talking about the 3 biggest mistakes you can make going into retirement. And we'll start out with number 1. Number 1, the biggest mistake is that you don't separate your retirement decisions. People think that retirement today means you take your Social Security and your pension today, and they think that perhaps if one spouse does something, the other spouse should do the same thing. And that's not true in any way. There's virtually zero requirements that any of that has to happen. But in a way, it's just a programming in our heads for 30 or 40 years of working that I'm going to retire today. I'll take my Social Security today. I'll take my pension today. And whatever I do, my spouse is going to do the same thing. It makes sense, right? I mean, it just makes a lot of sense.
Well, every commercial you see, Jeremy, is 2 people sailing on a boat, 2 people walking down the beach. Well, we can't do that if we're not retired at the exact same time. Oh, come on. Yes, you can.
And yeah, exactly. Well, and even then, just the word there, I'm my retirement. Well, your retirement date is when you want to retire and can afford to retirement, when you can take the time to afford to retire. Taking your Social Security, taking your pension for each of you, and different ones. You might have more than one pension out there. You ought to take those and start those whenever they give you the best bang for your buck. We've got a couple examples we're going to go through right now. One of them just starts out with Social Security. A lot of people think Social Security has an age of 65 because that was the age way, way back. Still now, it's the age for Medicare. So a lot of people know I start Medicare. I want to have my Social Security pay for the Medicare premiums. A lot of people do take Social Security at 65. So you figure if both husband and wife take the Social Security at 65, the other one should take it at 65. And in fact, it's very, very likely, I'm not going to give it 100%, but I bet you it's really close to that. It's very, very likely that you're better off with one person taking it early at 62, the other one taking it later at 68. It kind of averages out to the same thing, right? Somebody took it early, got a little bit of a pay cut. The other person takes it higher, and later on, you get a boost there. 3 years early, 3 years later, averages out to the same. But in reality, it's far better, way better off to do it that way, because what you're doing is taking one of those Social Security amounts and you're boosting it up, the one that's going to be there for the surviving spouse. So that's just one thought. Don't do things exactly at the same time just because you think that's the way you ought to go. A lot of times, especially with Social Security, you might want to take one earlier and take the other one later than expected. You'll end up with the same amount of money, roughly, when there's 2 of you. But then as soon as there's a survivorship, you're down to the one person that's a surviving spouse. They will be so happy that you took the time to boost up that survivor Social Security. So that's just one of the things. Separate out your retirement decisions between you and your spouse in a way. You don't have to do exactly the same thing at the same time. And separate your pension decision from your retirement. And it makes sense. Who doesn't want to stop work on Friday, get your last paycheck, and get your first pension on a Monday? That's great. And a lot of people do understand the first part of it, that you can wait on Social Security and you can retire and then take Social Security later on. Well, with pensions, there's something called normal retirement age. It's basically when is your pension designed, when is it set up to start out a pension payment. Virtually zero people we talk to, advisors included, understand that you can take your pension at a different time than right after you retire, or even sometimes you can take it past your normal retirement age. And we work with a lot of these publicly traded companies, AT&T, We Energies, Harley Davidson, a lot of these have pensions still. A lot of them give you our normal retirement age. And let's just say it's 65. We're generalizing right here. So let's say it's 65. If you retire early, you could take your pension early. A lot of people know that, which also means you could wait to the normal retirement age. And usually they take away about 5% a year. You do that for 10 years down to 55. So 10 years early, you're getting half of what you're promised at that true normal retirement age. Well, that's a big pay cut.
Yeah.
If you retire at 55 and you could wait till 65, that means you could double your pension because it would get back to the normal amount instead of being cut in half. And if there's any math nerds out there listening, I know there's at least 2 of them on the podcast talking right now.
That's right.
You know the rule of 72. If something doubles in 10 years, basically it's growing at 7% a year by waiting. That's a pretty decent return to allow your pension to grow, the benefit to grow at 7% per year. Now, every pension's different. We're just generalizing right there. All 3 pensions that I talked about, the AT&T, We Energies, Harley Davidson, I know they're all different. I know they're all different even depending on if you're a union worker or management, or depending on what year you were hired. Every time we meet someone, we look at all their options. Can you take it early? Can you take it late? And I'm thinking of just one person right now from We Energies. They thought their pension maxed out at 65. When they call us, they're a potential client. They said, "Hey, we're gonna take our pension at 65." I said, "Can you give us about 10 minutes? We'll walk into your system and we'll just see how do these different ages work out for you." They said, "We'll do it. You're not going to find the numbers that you're looking for because that maxes at 65. I know it does." I said, "Appreciate that. Love that. So happy to know that. Let's just figure out what happens if you take it earlier and what happens when you take it later." Well, they were very silent all of a sudden because we were doing age 65, age 66, age 67, and that pension was growing each and every year. They had this thought that was not quite correct, and I can't blame them because just about everyone thinks, I retire today, I take my pension tomorrow. We have another We Energies person. Both of these folks I'm thinking of are retiring this year. They just had a different situation. We looked at theirs, and theirs did max out at 65. How can you look at planning when somebody that probably works down the hall from you has a different pension type of situation? You can't just assume that the day I retire is the day I take my pension. You can't just assume that the way one pension works is the way another pension works, whether it's even at the same company even.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is what keeps going through my mind is just the importance of planning early, right? I mean, I know that you like to get a client as early as possible because you can do better work with them. If this person from We Energies came and spoke to you at 60 and had this plan to retire at 65, and I'm going to take my pension right away, and all of a sudden they find out that if they wait a year, it grows tremendously, or wait 2 years, it grows tremendously, that gives them that 5 years to make other arrangements, save a little bit more money here.
You got it.
So that they can actually retire and not have to start taking that pension. They live off of the stuff that they've saved up over those 5 years to plan so that pension can grow for the next 1 or 2 years. I mean, that's exciting. And if somebody comes to you at 65 saying, "Hey, I'm going to retire next week and I'm going to take my pension right away," it's a little late in the game for that. But
you get it.
But if they have other funds out there, I mean, I know that you dive into every part of their financial life. So if they've got other assets that they can draw off of, even if they are retiring next week and they can just push off that pension 1 year, that could be a huge difference.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And kind of going into mistake number 2, which is following the crowd instead of following the math. We've got someone that we're working with through Harley Davidson, and they just said to me recently, everyone I know that retires is taking the lump sum. In fact, the only Harley retiree I've ever met that is waiting on the pension is the one that referred me to you. Now, that's just the power of the crowd. If everyone's doing it, it must be right. And I'm not going to say that taking the lump sum, especially from that company, is wrong, but you need to follow the math. So we're doing the math for everyone we work with. And we find that a lot of times, if you wait till the month after your birthday to even take the lump sum, a lot of people do know that a lot of times you wait till the month after your birthday to start the monthly pension. You get a higher amount than the month before. It kind of makes sense. You had a new birthday. All right, makes sense. You get a little bit more. A lot of people get that part. Sometimes even on the lump sum, it turns out that you get a higher amount. Here we are looking at a few people. I'm thinking of 3 or 4 right now that we looked at and said, well, if you are going to take the lump sum, then let's just see when should you do it. If you're retiring in May, but your birthday's in June, maybe take it on July 1 instead of June 1. Let's just see how that works out. And we've been seeing ones where it's even $25,000 difference over just a couple of months time frame.
Wow.
It's just amazing. Yeah. If you're going to take the lump sum, do the math. You ought to do the math anyways. But if you're going to do the lump sum, don't just make that assumption. Don't follow the crowd that I retire today and take my pension as a lump sum tomorrow like everyone else is doing. Do the math, and maybe you do decide that lump sum is the best way to go. But if you could wait 3 months, 2 months, and make 3-4% on your money, guaranteed, because it's sitting there. It's guaranteed. They show you exactly the numbers, and it's written down what it's going to be. That seems pretty worth it to me. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no kidding. That's crazy.
Another reason people follow the crowd and take the lump sum in particular is it's really hard to turn down big money. Right? Who wants to turn down really big money? And when the company says to you, do you want $2,500 a month or do you want $500,000? What sounds better? I mean, who doesn't want $500,000?
Yeah.
But you're just comparing apples and oranges. That $2,500 a month, that might be between you and your spouse for as long as you live. What does that even mean? You have to translate it. It's kind of like going to a different country and saying this is worth this number of euros or pesos or yen. You got to translate it. You got to figure out what the comparison is. So that's what we do. We've seen it all times at these places, AT&T, We Energies, Harley-Davidson, all these other publicly traded companies that we're working with, places that still have pensions. When you do the math, a lot of times right now, the monthly amount, when you translate it over and say, here's the actual value, today's value of the monthly amount, it might be worth 20%, 30%. We've even seen 50% more, that taking the monthly amount is worth that amount more than taking the lump sum. That's pretty hard to turn down. If we say you got 2 options, one's worth 50% better, which one do you want?
Well,
Yeah,
Jeremy,
but people don't do the math. You got to do the math there.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I don't know these pensions, right? You do. Do you think it's a fear that, if I die and my spouse dies, then we lose out? And that's why we're not going to, that's why we want to take the lump sum? Or is there a certain amount that's guaranteed is there a payout to their children? I mean, what is the reason people are so quick to take the big amount besides the glamour of, $500,000? Here you go. Is it the fear of missing out on something?
Yeah, well, I'd say that's number 2. Number 1 is it's really hard to turn down a lot of money when you're making comparison to a small amount of money. You've got to translate and make the right comparison.
Yeah.
But you're right. Number 2 is, well, I've worked my whole life. I've earned this pension, and I want to get this pension. And if I don't get it, what if me and my wife pass on, me and my spouse pass on, and nobody gets it? Well, there's a couple of things. Just about every pension has all kinds of different rules that are out there. Some of them do have a rule that allows you to name some sort of beneficiary beyond you and your spouse, where if you're not around to collect it, that your your other beneficiary, your kids perhaps, are able to collect the difference. I'm thinking specifically of the Wisconsin retirement system. So the government workers have a 15-year guarantee that they could sign up for. Saying, well, by the time you reach 15 years, you've probably taken out all the money that's been in there. So it's kind of okay if you pass on after that. At least somebody got the money.
Yeah.
But what happens if you do get in the car wreck on the way to the bank after you sign up for your pension and nobody gets it? Well, there might be a guarantee there that's for it. And then also, that's such a very, very, very small probability. And yet there's huge benefits by doing it a different way. So a lot of times people look at the small, big loss and try to focus on that, as opposed to the virtually happens all the time big win. And they again, it's almost you're comparing to 2 different things. So if there's a very small risk that something happens, but there's a big problem that happens with it, that's what insurance is for. You spread out that risk. So if you're somebody that says, I'm worried about that, and my pension doesn't have this 15-year guarantee, well, you could get 15-year term insurance. And when you run the numbers, a lot of times you come out ahead. This is something we looked at yesterday for a client. We figured it out and said, there is a risk there. It looks like it might cost you $5 or $6 grand to hedge, to insure this risk, but the benefit might be worth $100. it looks pretty close to 100,000. If you're worried about it, the situation, do you just give up the 100 grand because you're worried about that fear of missing out? Or do you go ahead and grab the 100 grand worth of value by doing something different with your pension and then just insure that problem for the 5 grand, the 6 grand, whatever the cost is? That seems like a pretty good trade-off to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Another reason why a lot of people do take the lump sum, and I'll go with that, I'm saying this is probably number 3 on there, is that they hear that you ought to take the lump sum from your advisor. And a lot of times you hear that from your advisor, they've got a little bit of an incentive. If you take a monthly pension, they don't invest that money. They don't get paid any commissions on that. But you get a lump sum for 300 grand, 500 grand. I've seen $1 million lump sums that are available out there. If you take that out of your pension as a lump sum and the advisor gets a commission, I mean, there could be tens of thousands more. There could be a lot of money sitting there as a commission that they could get if they get you to take a lump sum and they invest it on your behalf. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, a little bit of an incentive perhaps for the person giving you the financial advice to suggest that you take the lump sum. Again, taking the lump sum is not wrong. Taking the monthly amount is not wrong. Doing any of this without running the numbers, without running the math, that's very wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of incentives, a lot of kind of social pressure into doing these things towards one end of it. And we want you to do the math. And oftentimes we see the math kind of suggest you ought to go the other way.
Yeah. Here's the thing, audience, I'll tell you this. If you're working with an advisor, ask Jeremy to run the math for you. He will be more than happy to. I can say that confidently because, he and I have been working together for a very long time. Because what I'd love for you to do is go back to your advisor and say, okay, you'll have the numbers from Jeremy. He'll be able to tell you how much more the account is worth if you don't take the lump sum and you take it over the payment period. And go back and ask your advisor, if I take the lump sum and put it with you, can you guarantee me this return to make up the difference? See what the look on their faces.
Yep, you got it.
They can't guarantee anything, right? I mean, that's by law. They can't really guarantee anything. If they are telling you or pushing you to take that lump sum, there may be a hidden motive there. And it's unfortunate, but we do have advisors out there that are unscrupulous. Have Jeremy take a look at your situation just to run the numbers for you. There's no pressure. He's just going to give you the facts. Yeah.
And sometimes people walk in, they say, hey, my bank advisor, this person I was talking to, they say I ought to do this. We can even look up what the commissions are. I'm thinking of someone about a year ago, and they said, oh, my advisor wants me to take this out. He says it's a better deal to go. Oddly enough, their advisor was saying, take money out of the guaranteed pension, turn it into lump sum, and put it into a guaranteed annuity. Well, it turns out this guaranteed annuity, the income grew by about 4 or 5% a year. Meanwhile, the pension income grew by about 7% a year. Okay, well, that doesn't seem like a good trade-off. And he said, well, why would he do that? So I looked it up. I said, well, it's 150 grand. Roughly, he's going to get a 7% commission, it looks like. He makes 10 grand if you do this, and he makes 0 if you do the other one. So there's a bit of an incentive there.
It is a great opportunity for the banker.
It seemed like it in that case. It doesn't happen all the time, but you got to run the math. Every time you got to run the math. Yeah. Which, speaking of math, it takes us to mistake number 3, ignoring taxes. A lot of math that shows up with taxes. A lot of people think retirement's showing up, taxes are going down, got my pension, my Social Security, life gets easier. I'll just take money out of the 401k, the IRAs. We're good to go. And we've talked about taxes a lot before, so we're not going to get too deep into there now. But just a few of them is that your taxes could be wildly different if you take money out in December versus January. 1 week difference, and it's 2 different tax years. Or before and after you file for Social Security. It is just crazy how the way that Social Security works is your taxes could be close to double or it could be 0, just depending on how this formula works out for you. When you plan ahead, you can figure it out. And then a lot of times too, there's this required minimum distribution that shows up. You can take money out of your IRAs and 401ks at 59.5, but now the required minimum distribution is 72. You have over 12 years to plan for this required minimum distribution, and your taxes will be wildly different one way or another on that. And we're thinking here of actually somebody that he just came into our office about 30 minutes ago. He called in yesterday. We're talking to him about funny story. So he calls in. He says, hey, I've heard about you. I want to work with you. But honestly, I've done this my whole life, and I'm just struggling to understand what's the value of having an advisor. I asked him a few questions, and just going through it, I was just certain, hey, he's going to come out ahead by doing some different tax planning. So I told him, drop off your tax returns, drop off some statements. We'll do a free tax plan analysis for you. We'll review it. We'll see if the value is there. We'll be able to show you what the value it is. I'm certain just from the questions that we're probably going to see about $500 a year in tax savings by adjusting how he gives his money away. It's just, we'll run the numbers. We'll figure that one out later on. But it's just a great thing. And that's what an advisor ought to be doing for you. And sometimes your advisors aren't doing that for you. And sometimes you're doing it on your own, trying to figure this out yourself.
Yeah. And here's what I love about that story specifically is that if that gentleman who is philanthropic to begin with can save an extra $500 a year in tax savings, that's $500 more that he can bless a charity with or bless his church with or whatever. And boy, does that feel good, right? I mean, or it could be money that he uses for something else. I mean, who knows? But if he's already philanthropic, what a huge advantage to be able to even give more if that's where your heart is.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and that's what we want to offer to anyone. Anyone who's wondering about what the value is with working with a retirement-focused advisor, there's a difference. What's the value of working with a retirement-focused advisor? We're going to do one of two things with you. Give us a call or go to our website, keilfp.com, keilfp.com. We can look at your tax return, and we'll see if there's any way you can plan out your taxes better. We'll just do that for free. We want to make sure that you're aware of it. And if you'd like us to work together further, we'll talk about that too. Or maybe you're someone that's facing a pension decision. And we do this all the time. We've probably done over 100 of these. So we can make this happen fairly quickly for you, where let's stop that apple to orange comparison. Let's translate what your monthly amount is so that you can compare it to the lump sum. We'll help you out so you can make that apples to apples comparison. And then you can decide if working with a retirement-focused advisor is valuable, if that's something that you want to go through.
Jeremy, in your example, you said that you use the ages of 62 and 68. So a husband and wife, one of them 62, one of them 68, when they take their Social Security. So let's say they're the same age. One person takes it at 62, and then they're both living for the next 6 years until the second person turns 68 and starts taking their Social Security. But my question is, should the person that takes it later, should that person have the larger Social Security benefit? So like in my parents' case, my father worked full-time his entire life, where my mom had jobs here and there, but she also raised us as a kid. So she was a stay-at-home mom for a while. Then she got some part-time jobs and she did some full-time work. So her Social Security benefit would be a lot lower. Should my dad be waiting? In other words, if they were the same age, should he be the one to wait?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Roughly speaking, taking it early drops your benefit by about 7% a year. And waiting boosts your benefit by about 8% a year. So 8% on a bigger number is a bigger number.
Okay. Yep.
And 7% drop on a smaller number is a smaller number. And that's exactly it. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the point, is that if you're both planning on taking it at exactly the same time, someone with the smaller benefit takes the cut a few years, takes it earlier a few years, it's a smaller cut. And the person with the bigger benefit, that's a bigger boost to your overall Social Security.
That makes sense.
And the other thing is that when the first person dies, doesn't matter who it is, that smaller one goes away.
Yes.
So that bigger benefit is the one you want to boost up because that's a bigger number, and it's the one that's going to be sticking around the longest with that surviving spouse, especially. That's exactly it. I like it.
All right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we're getting to the end of the podcast here, Eric. What did you learn today? What are you thinking?
Well, you talked about the three biggest mistakes, not separating retirement decisions, right? So you don't, husband and wife don't have to do the same thing at the same time. The second one was don't follow the crowd. And it was so funny because as you were talking about that, I thought, man, there's peer pressure at retirement, just like there is in high school, just like there was in college. Don't follow the crowd. You got to follow the math, right? I think is how you phrased it. And then number three was don't ignore taxes, right? You've got to do some good tax planning as well.
You got it. Well, we took the intro away from you, Eric, but you're still paying good attention. I love it.
Hey, I'm learning. I have to. I got to learn this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add on to that first one about a mistake is separating your retirement decisions or not doing that, is that a lot of people think I retire today, I take my Social Security or I take my pension a day, and that's not necessarily true. That's not required, and oftentimes you're better off separating the decision on when do I retire from when do I take Social Security and when do I take my pension.
It's all about the math.
Perfect. All right. Well, you got them all there, guys. The 3 biggest mistakes as you're facing retirement. Want to make sure that you're checking those out. Retirement-revealed.com. We'll have some more information on that there. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast. We believe if you know more about your money, you will feel better about your money, and you will make better money decisions.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast. Click on the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit retirement-revealed.com to learn more. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Keil Financial Partners. Keil Financial Partners does not provide legal, accounting, or tax advice. Consult your attorney or tax professional. Representatives have general knowledge of the Social Security tenets. For complete details on your situation, contact the Social Security Administration. Keil Financial Partners is a part of the Thrivent Advisor Network, a registered investment advisor. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.